Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Thursday, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. If you're watching us on the podcast live or on a replay, you're seeing my wonderful green room. I'm wearing green. We're making sure that we have all the bases covered here, at least on this side of things. We're going to get you ready for Orlando City coming up on Saturday, a big game, an early game. So many of you are going to have to start your drinking early. Of course, many of you probably won't have stopped from Friday night. We have a wonderful interview coming up with LA Galaxy 2 head coach Yoann Damet. He's going to talk a little bit about the doubleheader that's coming up on Saturday as well, so we're going to get you through that. So, a lot of things to cover, LA Galaxy news, media availability, all that fun stuff. In order to help me do it, she's back, she's in the house. It's the wonderful Miss Sophie Nicolaou. Soph, how's it going?
Well, once again, I'm exceptionally jealous of your lights, your uplighting, the beautiful colors on your face, and you are St. Patrick's Day green, and I am dressed like a Greek tragedy, all in black.
Your walls are green, though, and it's a very British, like, hunter green, like a good pub green, really, if you're
like
thinking
to
about
call it Jaguar green. Jaguar Racing Green.
Jaguar.
Yes.
We're going to have so many accents on the show tonight. I'm so excited.
We
have yours. We have Yoann Damet, who has a wonderful French accent, and it's glorious and marvelous, and Sophie and I were trying to emulate it before we got on the show, and it's one of the reasons that we're probably a couple minutes late was we were having too much fun with it.
We were. So. I was too busy saying, Josh, you are a fantastic man. Very good. Thank you so much for being there.
Oh, see, it's so good. It's so good. I get it. I get all the hype behind the French people. I get it.
I've gone glassless today, and you know, getting old. I mean, It's happening. Lack of sleep, bags under the eyes. We're just putting it all out there. You know,
why not? Let's be honest about this.
No filters, no nothing, just real shit.
Already, Soph. Really? Just 4 minutes into it.
So good the last few months.
You know what? Larry is going to text you here and it's coming.
God. He's going to text me about the bags under my eyes, number one. And
now he's going to text you about that as well. Yes, absolutely.
Gosh, I'll pay the fine.
Family show. It's fine.
Yes.
It's fine. Sometimes the kids have to learn some swear words. It's okay. I'm not worried.
Yeah.
Everybody in the chat room is already ready to go too. So we're good. As we said, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. It was funny. The LA Galaxy pulled out their 2 Irish players. I guess there's only been 2. I'm sure there may have been 1 or 2 more that nobody remembers. But Mr. Robbie Keane and Derek Williams, current player Derek Williams, who is a topic of conversation for this particular show as well, because there are some questions about whether or not Greg Vanney switches up the defense. Giving up 2 goals or 3 goals in the last game, all on set pieces. Julian Narajo can certainly take credit for 2 of those. Nick DePuy can take credit for one of them. Sega Coulibaly was playing patty cake a little bit further up the field in order to be out of position on that one as well. So it was not great. But Derek Williams maybe back in with the defense. Greg Vanney spoke at Open Media Day. There was another Open Media Day. So I went. I don't tell anybody, but I did sneak away from work in order to be able to. Yeah, I know. Can you believe it?
But your picture was very James Bond-esque. You made it sound like, were you just hiding the truth from, like?
No. Well, you know that the rule is we're not allowed to watch training, right? There's a 10 to 15 minute buffer at the beginning where you're allowed to go watch, and then you're not allowed to watch anymore. I never show up for that 10 to 15 minutes because that's pretty worthless watching guys just sort of warm up and do stuff like that. So you're just there really to talk to people, and they're not going to talk to you till after training. So my view of that really is a green fence. So if you want to know what it's like to be a reporter and you want to go to LA Galaxy training, there's a lot of cool things that happen. One of the hints I would tell everybody if you want to be a reporter and you want to do this is you go before the guys get out on the field. Okay. But here's so if you and I used to do this, right? You would get there before they go out in the field. So that way, as they come by, you'd get to say, "Hi, good morning, how's it going? It's good to see you."
I like that
right?
moment.
Yeah,
it's good Zlatan and Landon picks and
exactly. They're walking in, they're having a good time, they're ready for training. They always say good morning. Some of them give you fist bumps, right? You're good. You're like, okay, cool, everything's good. And then they go and train for like an hour, and you wait, and you're not supposed to watch.
Yeah,
all right.
With really bad bagels sometimes.
I was going to say, this feels like something new. And it is. I mean, every once in a while, we would get bagels. Every once in a while. It wasn't very often. I would go to training all the time, and there would be like nothing, right? There's nothing. And then all of a sudden, apparently at training now, they have their sandwiches. So if they had a sandwich box there for me, and I'm like... And I went to Kevin, who works at LA Galaxy PR. And I'm like, why are you feeding us all of a sudden? And I go, I know it's because we're worth it, but why? We deserve it, obviously, but why? And he's like, well, didn't you guys always have food out here? So I like that we've gotten new people in here who just think that they always have to feed us.
I think we complained so much last season of the quality of food. And by the way, I went to an don't shoot me, everyone. I had to do it for work. I went to an LAFC game, and their food quality has regressed. And LA Galaxy's food quality has improved so far this season. So I might be doing some nuggets on the old social I've taken some videos, so I'm going to post them. But yeah,
start to rate the food. I think there's some good stuff there. So but anyway, so they have it out there. So we're going through all this, and obviously this is all leading up to the LA Galaxy's game against Orlando City. The game kicks off at 12:30 p.m. We're going to preview that coming up here in just a little bit. We're going to tell you about that. But there was an open media day. There was a training going on. There was sort of the ability to be in the presence of players, which was nice. I haven't been next to professional soccer players that much in recent times. I forgot how big some of them are.
It's weird. It's weird, isn't it, being back like that?
It did. And it's a very, I don't know. It feels normal. There's a normalcy to it, but there is also this like unfamiliar thing. Like I'm looking at Javier in the eyes, and he's a little shorter than me, just a little bit, just
nice.
Just a skosh.
Does that make you feel good?
Yeah, except that whenever I talked to Jonathan Bond before the season started, I felt like I was like a little child that he was taking to school. So, I had my backpack on. And he was like, "Do you need help crossing the street?" I swear, that's what I felt like. He was very nice to me.
Yeah. He's quite the specimen from every. I mean, don't check Instagram at all if you want to feel good about your physique.
That's a general statement, by the way. Don't check social media if you want to feel good about your physique. There's just fun stuff. So basically, you stare at a fence. That's really what I want to tell you. Now, there's plenty of ways to get around that. I know all those ways, none of which I will divulge to any of you because I don't want those ways to go away. But you can usually find out what's going on, what's happening. It's very simple. But you're not allowed to, and don't. Okay, there you go. I've said my piece.
Hopefully the LA Galaxy PR team are not listening to the show.
It's okay. Yeah, I don't. Evening. If they do, they won't know these ninja ways that I have of figuring things out.
Did Larry not on Twitter teach you these ninja ways? Because he used to go down there all the time. So.
You know what? One of them, absolutely. Absolutely, Larry taught me one of them. Absolutely. And I called him on the way whenever I left. From training. I barely got through Greg Vanney. The bottom line is I'm going to go through training here in a second and sort of tell you what happened. And we'll go through some of the video clips or the audio clips of that. I had a meeting I had to go to, and I thought I had plenty of time. Training went way long.
Always does.
But this is longer than, like, usually it's an hour. An hour is usually good, and you can usually count on it. An hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, and almost 2 hours of training is a little much, and so I will sort of go over what all was encompassed in that. So it was
Because
interesting.
Nick Depew's practicing set pieces.
He needs the practice, so the LA Galaxy need the practice as well. So it'll be a good one. Let's get to a little bit of stuff though. I wanted to talk about this before we get too deep into everything. MLS today was sort of throwing out some infographics and tooting their own horn, as they like to do so many times. I did find it interesting, however. There's a league record 82 countries represented in Major League Soccer, and if you compare that with the other leagues around the world, Sophie, the next highest league is Serie A in Italy, and it has 62 countries represented within it. So 20 more countries are represented in Major League Soccer than they are anywhere else. That's awesome. I love to see it because it feels like MLS teams have to be very creative with the way that they spend money and the way they spend dollars. And one of the ways to do that is to go to places other people are not, to find diamonds in the rough, to find those people and those kids who you can bring in and make a difference in Major League Soccer. I think that's awesome. So some of that is super cool and super interesting. Whenever you look at all that. By the way, we got a $2 super chat from Arquitecto Verbal, and he says, what happened to Carlos Harvey? Carlos Harvey is around, so I've been told. So I want everybody to know he is around. The LA Galaxy signed him. He had a passport thing. He was training with them. I don't know where he's playing right now in terms of, is he going to go play for LA Galaxy 2, or if he's going to stay with the main LA Galaxy team. But you're talking about a guy who the LA Galaxy were able to get on loan from, I think, Toro FC, and now he was down there training with them, and now he's back. So another guy who's from out of the country who's sitting here and is one of these 82 countries represented. So just really interesting. The other part of it is that MLS has the youngest player pool at 25 years and 194 days old. The fun thing is that is like wrong as soon as it's tomorrow. That's not true anymore, right? Because everybody gets a day older every single time, right? So this ticks through the whole season basically, unless you bring in younger players, and then it can reset some things. But basically everybody gets older as it goes. I just thought this was interesting. You look at the Premier League there, Soph, and 59 countries represented, 82 countries in Major League Soccer. Is there anything?
They have the. Sorry, I had to put the old glasses on to read that. Was I correct in that stat? There's 49% outside of the US and Canada, so 51% are Canadian and American.
Correct.
Is that?
Yes.
Okay, so just a smidgen over half. The Premier League, I think everyone's winding down because of the home player rule. Mm-hmm. You have to have X amount of homegrown players in the league, but there's definitely less. I think there's an emergence of young British talent who is starting a lot more than they used to. I mean, that's really quite phenomenal that number is as high as it is. Very interesting.
I would love to do it. I'd love to see them do that though. Whenever you put into like starting 11s, regular starting 11s, how many Americans are starting? Because most teams have 8 international slots, and most of those 8 players, if there's only 8, some of them have more, some of them have less, but most of those 8 players are starters, right? And so a lot of times you have 7, or you have
how many
6.
do LA Galaxy have that start every week? So you've got
Cabral, Chicharito, Douglas Costa, Raveloson, Delgado's American. Let's see.
You've got Koulibaly.
Koulibaly. Yep, Koulibaly's in there.
You've got
Bond.
Jonathan Bond.
So Bond doesn't count as an international player, though.
His mum was American,
yes,
right?
So
he's American.
So he's technically a domestic player. I don't know but he was born outside of that, so he would hit on this,
right?
Even though he doesn't count as an international slot in there as well. Julian Narajo is a domestic player. Yeah, I mean, and then Raheem Edwards is a domestic player. Galaxy actually do pretty good with Grandsir, sort of one of those guys who can mix in. Victor Vasquez is an international player. That was one of the ones I was missing. I knew I was missing one. So Victor Vasquez is a guy who plays all the time, that type of thing. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the starters are international players. So again, it's a nice stat. It's nice to see. I think it's really cool. It's an interesting thing. I don't know that it's necessarily like this big thing, but it's fun. It's fun to talk about.
It's very eclectic. It illustrates kind of the diversity, which is good, but also the opportunity. And like you said, MLS teams have to hustle to find talent from everywhere just because of the wage structure and the way transfers happen. So,
Yeah.
as long as American players are getting the opportunity, and this isn't me being, prejudiced in any way, shape or form. I say the same thing. I always want my club, Arsenal, to at least have some homegrown players. I think it's important because of the culture, because of, the history of the club. And you can be foreign or you can be a homegrown player in order to kind of project the history. But I do like us to have a bit of a British backbone, being a British team. So I think those things are still important.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons that MLS actually limits the number of international players that you can be on the team, right? And basically, it limits the number of international slots in the league. It's 8 times however many players are in the league, and then not all those slots get filled up. There's even talk, and I've heard the talk certainly, of mandating that you have to have X number of U.S.-based players on the field at a time whenever you're doing like substitutes and everything. I know there's other leagues that sort of have rules like that that look at that. So anyway, just some interesting things whenever we look at it. I thought it was fun to talk about. There was another slide that showed like which states were represented, and I think there were only like 3 or 4 states. It was like 48 maybe. So no, it was not that many. It was like 47 states.
For real?
Yeah, that are represented. There are actually like 2, 3, 4 places that are not represented within the league. That people were not born in those states. One of them, I think, was Oklahoma. Was one of them Oklahoma? I don't know. Yeah, it was. I
would say the top state that people would come from a football perspective, is it New Jersey?
I have no idea. I think it might be California, because SoCal has a ton of talent.
I would say Utah, California, New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. But I thought it was fun to sort of take a look at. We take that, and then we transition that over to some of the international call-ups that are just coming down. Galaxy are on the edge of an international break. They will not play any games here for a little while after there will be a pretty good-sized break between the LA Galaxy's game against Orlando City and then the next time they play against the Portland Timbers. Portland actually plays in between there, by the way. They play Orlando. So it'll be a little international break for the LA Galaxy, and some of their players are going. Eric Zavaleta, we're going to talk about him. Greg Vanney said that he underwent an MRI earlier in the week. I think it was a hamstring issue that he was looking at, and they looked at that and they said that there was nothing there in the MRI, and so he would be cleared to come back and continue training once obviously he felt good enough to go ahead and do that. So Eric Zavaleta gets called up for El Salvador, and there's some real good CONCACAF qualifiers going on at this time, and so if he's healthy and if he can play, he will probably get some game time with El Salvador, so that'll be something to watch. And then the Mexican national team announced that they were going to call up Julian Narajo, so Julian Narajo makes that call-up list. Widely expected that he would be going. The big deal is, of course, the U.S. men's national team and Mexico will face each other in Mexico City at Azteca for... It's not going to be a must-win game, but I imagine Julian Narajo will get some time in this qualifying section the next 3 games, and certainly interesting for the U.S. and everybody gets to hold their breath. And it looks good. Looks like Mexico's going to make it. Looks like
hopefully
U.S.
he'll make the same mistakes that he did for LA Galaxy, and the U.S. benefits from that. Sorry, not sorry.
If you're a U.S. fan, yes, that is correct. And if you're a Mexico fan, I hope that he does just fine. But anyway, so he'll be gone for the international breaks as well. He'll be available for Orlando, so not to worry about that. And everybody should be back before they play Portland as well. So those are the call-ups that we have right now. And so we will keep an eye on if there are any other call-ups that sort of happen within the international breaks. Those are the ones I was able to find before we went on the show. And some of these announcements are happening like today and tomorrow for some of these other clubs and some of these other World Cup qualifying windows. So everybody can keep an eye on that. All right. One of the things that I definitely wanted to do, and by the way, Phil, giving us a $10 super chat. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate that. One of the things that I certainly wanted to do was talk a little LA Galaxy too. And I am in no way qualified to talk about LA Galaxy 2 because I don't watch it as much as I should. But I know that there are a lot of LA Galaxy senior team players that'll get some time on LA Galaxy 2 this year. And so what we wanted to do was ahead of the LA Galaxy 2 home opener, which will be right now, as we can tell, one of the few games that fans will actually be able to attend for LA Galaxy 2. So because as of right now, I've been told that there are no plans to have fans in the stadium for LA Galaxy 2 games. which I think is a mistake. Yeah, I know. I asked Yoann about that, and he said, that's not really my decision. He goes, so we'll just deal with whatever we need to deal with in order to do it. And I think it's ridiculous and stupid, and I hope that they change their minds on that. I'm hoping.
I go to the Orange County Soccer Club games, and they're so brilliant.
Yep.
I mean, the crowd's brilliant. What? I don't understand that.
Yep. It's got to be a cost thing. And with the last year in USL and with health and safety protocols and all the stuff that they probably don't want to deal with, however they want to do it, they don't want to do it. That being said, and I'll have plenty of time to rail about this throughout the rest of the season. That being said, there is a doubleheader coming up on Saturday. Galaxy senior team will play at 12:30. Kickoff is at 12:50. And then at 4 p.m., LA Galaxy 2 will host San Antonio FC. So it's something that we wanted to talk about and wanted to get to. And it's something that hopefully you'll enjoy here a little bit, is that I wanted to talk to LA Galaxy 2 head coach Yoann Damet. So what we have is about 12 or 13 minutes with Yoann. So I talked to him on Tuesday when he was available a little bit earlier, and so was I. So I want to get you that interview, and whenever we come back, we'll kick it off and start heading towards that Orlando talk. All right. So here is Yoann Damet, LA Galaxy 2 head coach. Very lucky that we're going to be joined by LA Galaxy 2 head coach Yoann Damet. Yoann has tons of experience, especially whenever you look at his time with the U20 U.S. national team, part of FC Cincinnati's coach. In fact, he was the interim head coach with FC Cincinnati twice, was with FC Cincinnati on the USL side, and then the Montreal Academy as well. So a guy with tons of experience. I talked a little bit to Mike Munoz, who was very high on this hiring before it was made. So we're very happy and fortunate to welcome to join us on the show for the very first time, LA Galaxy 2 head coach Yoann Damet. Yoann, thanks for joining us. Certainly appreciate it.
Thank you for the invite, Josh.
I know it's a little bittersweet. You guys are coming off a 2-1 loss to San Diego Loyal, and it was a pretty bad beat too. Whenever you look at a 97th minute own goal, ends up undoing I'm sure a lot of the hard work, and was down to 10 men in that game as well. Looking back at the game over the weekend, overall, are you upset about the start? Are you maybe a little more optimistic about the start than the scoreline would lead?
No, to be honest, I've spoken with the guys today. Today was the first training back after the game, so we've had some discussion ongoing with the staff, and then today was the moment to address the players about the performance of the weekend. And the first thing I said to them is I'm excited. I woke up on Sunday excited about the mentality of the group, excited about the quality I see on a daily basis. So I think it's promising. We went to San Diego on the weekend, and of course you expect, looking at the game and the last 15 minutes of the game, you expect to leave with a point, but that's football. That's football, and sometimes it's cruel, and losing in that fashion was definitely difficult. But I want to look at the positive, and I want to focus on the good things and what we're going to be able to do in the future.
Yeah, I want to give everybody a heads up too as well that coming up this Saturday, LA Galaxy 2 will be hosting San Antonio FC. This is the second part of the doubleheader. So the LA Galaxy kick off against Orlando City at 12:30 p.m. You can stick around, and at 4 p.m. You can see LA Galaxy 2 host San Antonio FC. We'll get into that maybe a little bit more here, but I wanted to go back and be a little more broad on our topics whenever we start. Just in terms of the second team with the LA Galaxy, that's always sort of, at least from the time I've been watching and it's in its existence, it's always been a challenge, right? Because there's been the pathway from the academy to USL to MLS. They've always been there. But when you have a team like the LA Galaxy who does bring in a lot of, outside talent and that populates the senior team, it's not always the clearest pathways for some of maybe your most talented players. And so how do you view right now the LA Galaxy 2 stepping stone? What do you see is the main important part of LA Galaxy 2?
As you mentioned, I think that's a team that is very important in the player pathway within the club. But the first team having a very good roster in terms of quality and bringing players from from abroad and bringing players with experience. Sometimes it can look a bit blurry for the players, but that's where the expectation is. Like the expectation is high for the young players coming in, and we want to set the bar high. So again, like for me, like there is two ways I look at it. There is that player pathway that we want to reinforce with in between the academy and the first team. So like I think this team is a big part of that, of giving the experience, giving the opportunity to the young players to keep developing and expressing themselves at the professional level. But there is also like the part which is supporting the first team in having success. So players coming down as well and getting some minutes to be fit and to be able to perform on the weekend for Greg with his team.
Yeah, it's one of the big questions I always get asked, and certainly whenever you talk about the academy system, LA Galaxy 2, and then the senior team as well, is how much of your style do you personally get to put into this LA Galaxy 2 team, and how much of the style and tactics are part of the overall broad, sort of framework of what the LA Galaxy want to do as a whole?
Yes, that's a very good question, and I think me just joining the club is also like a good time to explain a little bit the process. I think the club, since Greg arrived and has started to manage the first team, I think the club wants to align a little bit more what is happening at the academy and with the second team. And I think Mike Munoz coming back to the club and myself coming to take care of G2 is also a testament of what the club wants to do. So I think there is alignment in terms of how we want to play, how we want to play, like in between like the academy, the first team, and G2, and that's why I'm there. In the end, I think we all have a lot of similarities in the way we view the game, mm-hmm. and that's why I'm part of the project. I think Greg and I see the game from the same perspective, and I think that helps also to have some stability when the players are moving in between the two teams. You want to make sure these guys get the same messages across, and I think that's what is important. And the same way in between the academy and G2 before the players join the first team, like you want them to have the same message that is delivered to them. You want them to feel that what they've done with the academy is also going to help them to perform at the reserve level and eventually later on at the first team level. So I think the alignment is a big part of what we're trying to do, and because of our conviction in terms of how football should be played, I think it's very aligned and it's very, very similar.
And what is that interaction like between the senior side, the MLS side, and the USL side, both on the players and on the coaches? Is there a lot of mixing between those two groups?
There is mixing, of course. Like there is lots of discussion, ongoing discussion. Like of course, like they have a lot of things to prepare for, and the schedule is busy, and ours is as well. So there is some constraint during the week, but the process is very collaborative, and there is a lot of exchanges during the week, a lot of discussion about players, about processes, how we do things, how we train, how we prepare for this type of opponent. So I would say the beauty of the process is I think there is like lots of competencies in the room, whether it's with the first team staff or the academy staff, and I think this discussion are only making us better as a club.
As we shift a little bit more to the game coming up this weekend, and I'll say this is going to be one of the, let's say, few chances, at least right now, for people to actually go out and see the LA Galaxy 2 team play at home this year. As of right now, at least from what I've been told, it doesn't seem like you guys are going to have fans in attendance for some of your home games. Is that still the expectation, at least for the near future? And what does that do to a team like you guys? I mean, obviously, young players want to play in front of fans, want to see that. What does knowing that maybe there won't be that home support at home this year do for the team?
to be very honest, that's something that I'm not 100% sure about. So it's hard for me to discuss about that. Of course, like players have to face different situations during the season, and of course, playing away like in front of crowds, like it was the case this weekend against San Diego, is part of the environment we want to put the players in. So when you play home, like having fans or not having fans, of course, makes a difference. But in the end, it's about what we can control and like making sure the players can perform on game day. This is out of our control at the moment, and we just want to make sure we go to the games ready and that we provide the best resources for the players to be performing on the weekend.
Yoann, I'm going to ask you the question that I think is always the hardest for coaches. And I've been doing it long enough. I know what to expect from this, but there are some really talented players on this LA Galaxy 2 team, whether you look at some of the academy players that have, sort of come up and some guys who have been established with Galaxy 2 over the years, or whether you look at maybe even some of the draft picks that were draft picks earlier this year and now are going to be playing down with your G2 squad. Can you give us some of the names that, you're excited about and some guys that we should be watching as this season progresses?
Yeah, it's tough for me to give you names. I would say the group is talented. There is definitely like a good mix in between experience this year. There is a couple of veteran guys that have came in to surround the younger players and provide the support that we need to develop these players. I think there is a couple of the players that were drafted that are going to be interesting to watch. There is also a couple of players that are involved with the first team already that are going to get some minutes with G2. So I would say that's a pretty good mix of players with different background and also different qualities that definitely makes the group very talented. And that's why I said to you, like, I'm really excited. Despite the result this past weekend, I'm really excited about the season ahead with these guys.
One of the things, one more question, and then I think we'll let you go here, is this is the last year for LA Galaxy 2 in USL, and next year there's a transition plan to go over to the MLS side, the MLS Next Pro. Is there anything that's happening this year that's already starting a shift for that year, or is this year USL, you're totally focused on that, and sort of planning down the direction and looking at that MLS Next Pro is not super high on the priority list right now?
For now, the focus is fully on the USL season ahead. Is on providing the best environment for the players to develop and to keep growing, and to make sure these guys benefit from what we're trying to build. So the only focus is on what we can control, which is the season, which is the next game, which is our training environment and the project we're building within the club, and we will go from there for what's about the future.
And then I guess I lied. This is the last question, I promise. San Antonio FC coming in to face you guys at Dignity Health Sports Park on Saturday again. Second game of the doubleheader kicks off about 4 p.m. Galaxy play Orlando City at 12:30 p.m. So tickets get you to both of those games, so you can stick around if you want to. What are you expecting out of this game, and what do you want to see from your team on the rebound after the first round loss there?
As everybody knows, like playing on the road in this league and in MLS is something difficult. So like you need to show resilience and at times like you need to find ways to win games. So having our first home game this weekend is an opportunity for us to be more dominant, to show a little bit more the identity we're trying to implement and yes, to be on the ball and to provide a little bit more moments, I would say, on the ball and controlling the game. So I'm looking at this game as a big opportunity for us to start our home season and to benefit from that home field advantage of playing at the HSP.
The LA Galaxy 2 will kick off their home opener here at 4 p.m. If you're not going to be at the game, if you're not going to be there, you can watch it on ESPN Plus, as all the USL games and especially all the LA Galaxy 2 games are on ESPN Plus, so you can find it there. Yoann, we certainly appreciate you calling. Hopefully this will be the first of many. Good luck this weekend, and I wish you all the best for the season.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for having me.
All right, there we go. A little chat with LA Galaxy 2 head coach Yoann Damet. He's fun. He's fun, and I like him, Soph. And I think that very soon we're gonna be able to talk to him more about some of the developments that are going on there. There's going to be this big transition that happens next year whenever they go to the MLS Next Pro. That was not something that Dennis DeClosa was very high on, which is one of the reasons the LA Galaxy 2 are still playing in USL right now. But MLS has basically mandated that everybody who's in MLS go to MLS Next Pro, and I think there's about 3 or 4 holdouts throughout the 28 teams that are in the league. So, we'll see. We'll sort of see what did you take from his interview?
I think he's very articulate. He's very interesting. He's honest, very forthright in his opinions, and I like the bit about talking in terms of synergy with Greg Vanney. I think that's important. I don't think that happens across the board in A and B teams or 1 and 2 teams. So I thought that was a really good point. And expectations are always going to be high. Disappointment, yes, in terms of how things started. But I like his style, and I think that he's a good ambassador for the brand overall. So, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Again, if you want to watch the LA Galaxy 2 game, 2 ways to do it. If you are
Great interview, by the way. Sorry, Josh. You asked some really good questions. It was conversational, and it was very engaging.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I will say that our Discord users got to give me some ideas of what they were thinking about and what questions they wanted to know. Cool. And then I was able to sort of fold those into stuff that I know I wanted to touch on and sort of get to. And I always love going to LA Galaxy 2 games. I haven't been in recent times just because schedules is pretty tight now. But if you want to stay, you can stay after the LA Galaxy 2 game or after the LA Galaxy game. You can watch LA Galaxy 2. It kicks off at 4. If you have a ticket for the LA Galaxy game, you're in. You just stay where you're at, and you can walk around the concourse for a little bit, and maybe get something to eat, stretch your legs, do a little thing, and you get to watch 2 games instead of just watching 1 game. So, cool. That's sort of a highlight. And again, it doesn't look like right now they're going to have any fans in there, which is a mistake, but that's okay. They don't listen to me, so we'll see. We'll sort of see where it goes. I want to get to. Before we get too far, I want to get into this because I can already tell just by the way this whole show is shaping up that we're going to be condensed towards the end of it. There's a lot of information to get through still here for today. I told you I went to meet Sophie's like, I'm out. I'll just no. We got plenty. I went to training. I went to training on Wednesday. I got to hang out there. I got to see some of my reporter friends who I see all the time on game days, but it was nice to see them again. And then we got to talk to Greg Vanney. We got to talk to Javier Hernandez. We got to talk to Douglas Costa. They did. I had to leave before Costa came out. So that's tough break, but that's okay. There's some really good stuff. If you go on cornerofthegalaxy.com, we have the entire media availability ready there. Costa stuff is translated by Vicky Mercado, who's in charge of PR at the LA Galaxy. So it's immediately translated, so you can get sort of an idea of what he's saying. And he's speaking in Spanish, so if you speak Spanish, he does it. He understands Spanish. He speaks a little bit of Spanish. And then I was talking to one of the reporters, Katia Castorena, who's amazing, by the way.
Top shelf human right there.
I love talking to Katia, and she's always tuned into everything. And she says, it's funny because his Portuguese is sort of like Portuguese and Spanish, and it's mixed together because he's played with so many Spanish speakers and he's been in so many Spanish speaking places. And he has this thing that it's kind of like whenever we talk about like Spanglish, right? Where it's Spanish and English and it gets mixed into there. And that's what he does is it's like Portuguese and then it's also Spanish and, a whole bunch of things. Nice. The best part was, and I saw it was whenever he came out and somebody goes, "Oh, you're not going to talk to us in English?" He goes, as Jonathan Dos Santos used to do and everything else. He goes, "Give me 6 months and then I'll talk to you." And we're like, it's perfect. You could just talk to us. I understand. It's it's so difficult. And I have so much respect for anybody who does an interview in a language that is not their own.
Yeah. Our Portuguese isn't great. And certainly my Spanish isn't. But you know what? Now I'm on a mission because I cracked the Jonathan Dos Santos code. I don't know if Larry was there that day.
I remember.
So now I will crack the Douglas Costa code.
He's there. He's going to feel comfortable with us, and he's ready to do it. 2 months. Okay, good. Yeah. I like it so. So Douglas Costa, but you can get that whole thing. I do have some stuff that we're going to play from Vanney and from Javier here, but let me tell you about how things go. And I told you the training ran long, and everybody sits there and goes, "Well, who cares?" Well, it matters. And when that happens, it matters, right? And there's little things that you can take from this. So this is how the normal schedule goes. Let's pretend the LA Galaxy had a game on Saturday. And so then they're going to come back from that game on Saturday. So what happens for all that? And by the way, thank you. I got some reminders here as well. Marvin gave us a $10 super chat and said that he wanted to wish his beautiful wife, Yvonne, who's watching with me, a beautiful 15th anniversary from when we first met. Yes, we're old school and met at a bar on St. Patrick's Day. Happy anniversary.
Wow,
That's awesome.
Happy anniversary.
That's amazing. I love it. So thank you for that, Marvin. Patrick, by the way, gave us $5 super chat and says this show continues to dominate. That's mostly due to Sophie. And then Raphael gave us a $10 super chat and says, happy 15th anniversary to fellow G's Marvin and Yvonne. Cheers. I like how they're giving us money for their anniversary. I feel a little dirty about it, but I will accept it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Also,
okay.
by the way, a couple that met in a bar on St. Paddy's Day still together, because sometimes you could be bleary-eyed on St. Paddy's Day in a bar. So I'm glad that all worked. That's a great story.
They've been drunk for 15 years. That's the part that he hasn't said. But no, congratulations. That's awesome and a lot of fun. So anyway, training matters. Let's pretend that the LA Galaxy had a game on Saturday, which they did. They played in Seattle. They come back, so they travel back home on Saturday after the game, okay? So what happens through the rest of the week? Well, Sunday, which you would think normally you just had a huge game, Sunday you would say, well, that's a day off. It's not a day off. Sunday is a recovery day, right? Which is when they come in, they do a light workout. Maybe they ride bicycles around Dignity Health Sports Park, which they have done, right? And so that's their recovery day. So their day off is Monday. So they have a day off on Monday and they don't come in on Monday. Now they're free and they get to do whatever they want to do. So Tuesday they come back, they have that day off. So it's a moderate day, right? It's moderate to high level sort of intensity. They make sure they get all the muscles stretched out, but then they want to put in some good work, some good cardiovascular works. That way they're keeping the heart up and doing all those things. Well, then we get to Wednesday, and this is when media day was. Wednesday is a max effort day, right? It is the peak of training, because on Thursday you're going to start to ramp stuff down. It's a little bit less intense. On Friday it's a walkthrough, and on Saturday is your next game, right? So Friday is the least exertive day outside of your day off, and then Saturday is when you play. So we were there on a Wednesday. The Galaxy were supposed to start around 10. They started about 20 minutes to 11 because I got there. I guess I just missed everybody going out and seeing them warm up for the 10, 15 minutes or whenever it started. So that was about 10:40 or so. I got there around 11. And then they trained from basically 10:40 all the way until about 12:30. That's a long time. As a matter of fact, it was so long, Sophie, there was a little anecdote floating around that one of the players may have mentioned, and we won't mention any names of said players. He says, 2 hours, what are we, training for the Olympics? Which I thought that was great.
Wow.
Great. That's great. That's great. Well, I mean, there's a thing, though. Bruce Arena's trainings very rarely went over an hour. Most of these guys, the trainings don't usually go over an hour. To see almost a 2-hour training is a lot. And it was high intensity towards the end because we could hear them yelling and screaming at each other as they were playing a game. So there was games going on. Everybody was focused and playing high intensity. You could sort of hear the impacts. I had it explained to me what was going on while they were out there and sort of seeing that stuff. And so that's what happens at training. That's why Wednesday was a max effort day. It's also the day you probably start talking about the team that you're going to be playing. So
wow. So I mean, Pochettino, when he was at Spurs, he would do 2-a-days. Antonio Conte, intense. I mean, an hour and a bit training. That's not too long. I mean, this long, is
no, it's not. And listen, nobody's complaining, and the players aren't complaining either. It's just more fun that they're like, whoa, okay, I guess we're going to train for 2 hours a day, right? That's
how you win championships, right? Dudes.
Sometimes it is. If you're Guillermo Barros-Schelotto, you train for 2 hours and then you just run everybody into the ground. Yeah. So there's a balance, and there's always those things. So anyway,
Greg's trying to rebuild a culture, right? A culture of sorts. What's acceptable, what isn't. But yeah, no, I'm exhausted just by the schedule that you mapped out, by the way. I need a nap.
I mean, it is, it's funny because those guys basically probably showed up. Maybe they got to the stadium around 8, 9, somewhere in there. And so they're there and then they're done by 12:30. I mean, it's not a horrible schedule. You get to go home, hang out with the family for the rest of the day, play video games, whatever you want to do. If you're Sasha Klesh and you act like a real man, and just do manly things and that type of stuff. I know I would go home and play video games.
No, you wouldn't play video games. You play with something else.
With trains. Let's be very clear about what it was, because you almost left that open for too long that people were going to be like, well, I know what you would do.
That would have been my second. That would have been a yellow after my first offense.
You got warned the first time verbally, and then you would have gone into the book on the second one. So, by the way, Herb stopped by and gave us a little, there you go, a little red card there. So Herb gave us a $20.02, 2002, by the way. So Herb always has a meaning behind his. 2002, of course, the first time the LA Galaxy won an MLS Cup. Good job, Herb. He says, stopping by to say hi to the soccer diva. Hey, Josh, hope all is well. Have a great show. Herb Memorial is the Herb Memorial still a thing? Of course it is, Herb. Of course it is. The Herb Memorial chat room is always yours. Whenever you want it, even though you're alive. I don't know why it's a memorial, but we like it that anyway. We like to think of you. It's a memorial. See, that's all.
100%. By the way, that looked like an ad for Dr. Pepper there for a second by you.
I've been trying to get them to sponsor us. I don't know what else I need to do besides like hold this here for an hour or something like this. But I did have to make an emergency Dr. Pepper run last night to Target. Just FYI. All right.
That better be cold. You better not be drinking warm pop.
No, it's fine, because I grew out of drinking warm pop in college, because you wouldn't put it in the fridge because your roommates would drink it. So you would just leave it out and be like, well, I'm not drinking that because it's warm. It's like, that's right. You're not drinking it because it's warm. I'm drinking it because I want it.
When I first moved here, I'm like, people were saying pop, and I'm thinking, what, pop music? Pop, I don't know, lollipop. I don't know. You just shorten abbreviation. It's a fizzy drink. It's a fizzy drink. That's what we called it. But now I say it. I just said it out loud, like without even blinking an eye.
You say pop. See, now I grew up saying pop or soda, and I think that we mix that word in California.
Oh,
but my parents,
pop. I get that.
But my parents are also from the East Coast, so I'm not sure if I have an East Coast bias within my soda drinking. So I just call it a soda.
Do you do floats? Do you like the float?
That sounds like way too much like work. I mean, I like them if somebody makes them for me. I don't want to do it myself and dirty things and have to clean. I'm the one who's in charge of cleaning up the kitchen, so I like to keep it simple. Nobody else in this house does, though. That's for sure. Anyway.
You're not a Virgo, are you?
Leo.
Close. Yeah. Anyway, okay. I digress. We digress.
No, it's fine. I think we're doing just fine. So anyway, so that was sort of where we stood with training. So there was a reason it was long. Greg was pushing them this week, was trying to correct some things. Certainly, he talked about that a little bit here and there. By the way, chat room is saying pop is Midwestern, soda is the answer. Okay, good. I grew up on the right side of things then. Let's get to a little bit of this. It's super interesting. Javier Hernandez spoke to us, was one of the first ones. He's in a good mood. He's always in a good mood, right? We need to go to the Church of Javier Hernandez right now. That's really what we need to do. And I'm just sort of going through here on some of this, and I got one of the first questions, and it was nice to be back and actually just talking to people face to face. And so it was nice to see Javi looking at me and answering my question. It was a ton of fun. But here's Javier. I asked him. I said, this game against Orlando, it's a difficult one. Do you and I go, and you're not playing on turf. Has the turf bothered you guys? Now played 2 back-to-back games on turf, and this is what Javi, of course, put into the world.
Yeah, I don't want to say that kind of stuff that it could sound like an excuse, but yeah, it's not easy. It's turf. We don't use with turf. No, this sport was invented with grass, as you can see. But I mean, times evolve. The VAR, technology, and other situations. So us as players, if they tell you need to play in concrete, we're going to play in concrete, and we're going to adapt ourselves to try to enjoy this sport that we love.
I thought that was great. If they tell us to play in concrete, we're going to play on concrete, right? I mean, that's a classic Javier Chicharito answer right there, which is, I'm not going to complain, because if I do, everybody will take my quote completely out of context, and it'll be story all over Mexico. Javier Hernandez hates turf, the whole deal. And he's like,
I think you got something, Josh. Church of Chicharito and his quotes of the season. Boom, shakala, drop the mic. You've done it.
Yeah,
he throws out some beauties, doesn't he? He's the best quote machine since Zlatan.
He is. It's always interesting, and he was very engaged. A lot of times he tries to argue with us about answers and stuff like that, like in the nicest way possible. And so one of the crazy things was, and we were asking him, and we've sort of been asking him, but we know the response, but you still have to ask questions. It's like, listen, the offense isn't really clicking yet. You have chances. You haven't converted some of those chances. Do you want to score more goals? Javier, basically, as Javier says, I don't care about goals. I just want to win. He goes, I want to win. We want to win. Like the whole thing, he was making it really good. So Scott French, who was there, wanted to argue with him about a little bit about it. It's like, come on, but you want to score goals, which I like. This was good though, because it's like, yeah, exactly. And so you could go into this stuff. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get this. So here's Javier Hernandez talking about the offense a little bit.
Win.
Is it good enough?
I want to win.
Wait.
I want to win. If I score, look, Giroud didn't score a goal. He didn't make a shot in the World Cup, and he was the World Cup champion. So ask him as well. So I want to win. This is a sport team. We want to win. I'm the first defender, and then I'm going to be the first attacker. I don't want to keep sending that message that, and in this society, even in soccer and in life, that we came here just to do one job, and life is just about one thing, simple thing, and all of that stuff. I want to win. We want to win. And honestly, with all the respect, I don't care. Last season, I will have 5 less goals and 5 more points, and we'll be in the playoffs, or you never know, a champion. So it's like, I want to win.
Goal scoring can often lead to goal scoring.
Man, last season I scored 17 goals in 21 games, and I was in my couch watching playoffs.
That is it. I love it. I love it whenever. So Scott's trying to get him there, and Delmy's in our chat room, and Delmy was standing right next to me. We're laughing whenever, because we were standing next to each other going, here we go. Scott's going to dig in on it.
Good.
And it was so good though, because he's like I scored. The biggest flex Javier Hernandez has ever made since he's been with the LA Galaxy was that line right there. I scored 17 goals in 21 games. Totally true. And I was watching the playoffs from my couch.
That's brilliant.
Chef's kiss. It's so great. Yeah, Chicharito won that one. But you know what? I'll say this. Yes, whenever you sit there, you go, Scott, don't you get it? He's telling you the answer. Just listen to the answer. But look how good it got, though, because Scott was persistent, right? It's just great.
If anyone goes, I mean, I'll throw in a zinger. I'm not afraid to ask certain questions.
Right.
But Scott French will not let go.
No. Ever.
He will not let go. It's hilarious. Brilliant, though. Great quote.
A little bit from Greg Vanney. I sort of wanted to get back to him, and he talked a little bit about Julian Narajo, which I thought was good. It was needed, right? Because I asked him after the game, I said, Julian Narajo looked like he was at fault, at least in some part, for all 3 goals. He said he would go back and take a look at it. And Damien was the one who eventually got him to talk about it. And so here's Greg Vanney talking about Julian Narajo a little bit towards the very end of his media availability.
Yeah, it's the same process for Julian, for everybody, every week. He sits down with the person, Dan Calif, who is responsible for going through the clips, the moments, talking through all of the scenarios so that he can better understand the scenarios, his solutions, what should have been done differently. At this point, he sees it and he's understanding it. It's about doing it when he's on the field, right? So for us, there's a balance, because he's still, again, he's a young man who's learning and he's trying to continue to get better in the position. We trust him and we have to show that trust in him, but he also has to perform, which is going to be a big part of how he bounces back as we move into another game. Is can he respond with a complete performance in this next game? And that'll be a good question for Jules to answer for us.
All right, there we go.
Of
course, there we go. I can actually hit buttons.
Araujo saved LA Galaxy on so many occasions. I mean, he had an absolute howler. Let's be honest. It was probably one of his worst games ever, Josh. But a little bit like, I always have to have one Arsenal reference in every show. Ramsdale got beaten at his near post by Diego Jota last night, and it was not a good moment for him. But I'm not going to kill Ramsdale because he saved Arsenal on so many occasions this season. And Araujo, I said to you, the beginning of the season, are we going to see him like simmer down a little bit? And that's the next phase of his game, Josh, that he really needs to button up. It's all around. And again, I think he deserves to be criticized. So often, as you said, he has been the savior. We talk about him being a consistent force for the LA Galaxy. He's a consistent source of offense, just in terms of assists. He's a consistent source of work rate and defense. And so all of those things. He was off against Seattle. And unfortunately, because he was off against Seattle, it cost the LA Galaxy 3 goals. And you could argue the last one isn't him, except that if he's up with the rest of the line, the guy who scores is actually offside. And then it wouldn't have been a goal. So, I mean, there's all these little shades. And listen, defense is a team game. And there were plenty of defensive breakdowns. But,
he deserves to have a little bit of this criticism.
Yeah.
I'm not worried. All right. But he needs to lock it up, right? Like Greg Vanney's like, lock it up.
A little bit like Marcus Rashford for Manchester United. He has done so many great things off the field. I mean, he saved kids, from starvation, basically. And he's going through a very difficult time in his game right now. And some in the media, some people also find it difficult to criticize him because of the great things he's done off the pitch. Arajo's done so many great things. He's winning awards for it. He's a fantastic young man. But he really needs to check his mental engagement in a game and not make silly mistakes and silly, and that result in affecting the team. You know what I mean? He's really got to curb that.
He does, and a big chance to sort of get back on this for this Orlando game. We're gonna start looking and start shifting a little bit here towards this Orlando game because we're getting towards the end of the show. I want to make sure we have enough time because there's a lot to get to. If you look at the Eastern Conference standings right now, Orlando sits 8th, just below the playoff line. It's Columbus Crew, Philadelphia Union at the top 1 and 2 spots with 7 points over there on the Eastern Conference, and then if you go over in the Western Conference, LAFC and RSL sitting on 7 points. 7 points is max in the league right now through 3 games. So nobody won all 3 of their games. The best that they've had is 2 wins and a draw. LA Galaxy sit 5th with 6 points there and are basically 2 points above that playoff line right now. And if we go over and look at the overall view, in 9th place in the Supporters Shield standings right now is the LA Galaxy, and 16th place is Orlando City. We look at the schedule that is coming up. Obviously, the last game of March coming up 12:30 p.m. That is the game against Orlando City. There's then a break until April 3rd when the LA Galaxy will travel up to Portland. That will be another game on turf. As Greg Vanney said, that will be 3 of 5 games that they have to play on turf checked off. So they're looking forward to the fact that they'll only have 2 more for the rest of the season after this little stretch of things here. And if we look at April, it goes pretty quick, pretty fast. 4-3 against Portland, and then 4-9. It is the first El Tráfico of the season, 1 of 2 this year. And this one will be at Dignity Health Sports Park when LA Galaxy hosts LAFC on 4-9. So all that coming around very quickly here, Soph. It was funny. Javier was asked by one of the local news cameramen. He goes, well, LAFC's coming up. And Javi just shut him down. He goes, listen, man, that game's so far away. He goes, listen, I like you. I respect you, the whole deal, the whole deal. But he goes, we're not even thinking about that. It's all about Orlando right now. We're focusing on Orlando, and that's all we want to do. So the LA Galaxy very much focused on that. So that's fun.
One game at a time. You can't look too far ahead. Not in this environment. They've got to do that. They've got too many things to fix here and now for certain opponents, then worry about El Tráfico coming up. That's
2 games away right now. It's like you got a really difficult game in Portland that's going to be, and a difficult game against Orlando City. When we're looking at injuries, we talked about Eric Zavaleta, who had an MRI on a hamstring. No injury was found, at least no deep tissue injury of any sort was found, and so he would be technically cleared to get back training whenever he feels good enough to be able to do that. I would imagine that he's out for this weekend and not available, but he could be available, and maybe he sits on the bench, and if you don't plan on playing him that much, he could sit there. I don't know why they would need to, but that's something that's there. I imagine Derek Williams will be on the bench. That was one of the things that Greg Vanney talked about, was how do we get Derek Williams back into this group as well, right? He's missed a lot of times with injury. He's done that stuff. And Greg drew a line after the Orlando game, and he said, listen, we're going to get through the international break, he goes, and then obviously we're going to reassess everything as we're working through that break and doing stuff and looking at players that we want to sort of bring back in and do that stuff. He said maybe Derek will play this weekend, but whenever he said that, it was also like, we have this group of players, they're going to get to play these first 4 games, and then there's an international break, and then we'll stop and we'll bring people back in where we want to bring them in. And maybe that means that somebody like Kevin Cabral doesn't get a start because they are not happy with how he's doing. So maybe it's Grant Seard that comes in.
Sorry.
That's fine.
I know it's cheeky.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's fine. So you look at those things, and that's why there's sort of this line that's being drawn after this Orlando game. So I would expect, as we're looking at Orlando, that there's not going to be any drastic changes that are
and
coming.
Don't risk anyone. There's so much football to come and so much football to play, Josh. Don't risk anyone. By the way, if it's the Church of Chicharito, is it the Kindergarten of Cabral? His time he manned up. Come on. When is this guy going to start playing football?
It is. And I think that actually this Orlando game is perfect for him. And if he doesn't succeed, then I will have more questions about why he is not being put into better positions and also having an effect on the game. I do think part of it is the LA Galaxy have been, and this is the same for last year, have been hesitant to play balls in behind. Kevin Cabral is one of the fastest people on the field whenever he plays, and you're not playing balls into him behind. Listen, let's deal with the fact that if he can't cross after being played in from behind, that's a different answer than not playing him at all, right? And so I think that's something to look at. Let's do this. Let's get to, real quick, LA Galaxy versus Orlando City coming up, 12:30 p.m. 12:50 p.m. is what kickoff is, 5-0. Univision, TUDN, and then, of course, on Twitter. If you want the English side of that stuff, you can find it on Twitter. So just go to MLS's Twitter page, and they usually have it. As you're going into the stadium, the LA Galaxy put out in one of the emails that they had that matches no longer requires fans to present proof of vaccination or recent negative COVID-19 test result upon entry to the stadium, and masking is recommended but no longer required. So that's the change, and people are saying, wait, they weren't checking last. There's a difference between not checking and not required to check, and now they're no longer required to check, Sophie. So that's if that was something that was keeping you from going to a game, the LA Galaxy are saying, have at it. Come on down, and you can go and see a game here at Dignity Health Sports Park. So that's something to look at. Yes. By the way, Sophie, I don't know if you ever got checked for your vaccination status as a member of the media, but I never got checked for mine.
Oh, are we allowed to say? Because I don't want to get anyone in trouble.
I would imagine that's public knowledge at this point. If you're not checking the press, who are allowed to report on things that they see. Yeah.
I never got asked once.
Yeah, of course not. So that's, and by the way, there were lots of fans who had that particular experience as well. Orlando City was flying today from MCO. Do you know what so MCO is the ICAO identifier for Orlando Airport. All right. Do you know how you memorize or remember that Orlando is MCO? I've told this one before. It's Mickey's corporate office, MCO.
Correct. Okay, homage to Disney right
See,
there.
there you go. So MCO is Mickey's corporate office, and coming to LAX, they were supposed to land around 3:15 p.m., so they were arriving here on a Thursday, ready to play on a Saturday. All right? Yes. All right. I
love the flight aware stuff. I really do. It's fabulous.
There's a great Twitter account called at Sports Aviation, and they do all like Major League Baseball, hockey, NBA, everybody. They do it all, Sophie, and they track like flights from teams and where they're going and where what time they leave and what time they're supposed to land and all sorts of fun stuff like that.
I mean, look what I have here. Look at this.
Oh, look at that.
Look at this.
Hold on.
I don't know what season this was from. Look at this.
But look at that. It is a blue piece of paper that I definitely printed out.
Yeah, this is a Josh spreadsheet.
That's
compensation. Improved compensation through increased performance bonuses.
Yep.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yep.
Always have my blue Josh paper.
Very good. Very good. Just a lot of things, again, going on for Soccer Fest before this game. So get down there. They have a new community kit skate deck that they're putting out. They have a mystery item giveaway. I've never seen this one before. A mystery item giveaway to the first 4,000 fans.
Oh, I need one of these.
Right? I mean, that's the first 4,000 fans at Soccer Fest. You can meet Mers is going to be there. Quasar Cuts, LA Galaxy 2 home opener. There's a local women's shelter drive, prize drawings, retro Kobe Jones tee, and then the game itself as well. There's also a blood drive that's going on before this game as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do before the game as it comes out. So, let's get a little bit into what this Orlando team is going to do and sort of what they have looked like so far, this season. The last time the LA Galaxy and Orlando City met, May 24th, 2019. So it's been a few years since these two teams played. The biggest news, of course, about any of this stuff, Sophie, is that there will be 2 Patos in Los Angeles. One of them, of course, will be playing on the field, and the more important one will be in the press box. So I will be up in the press box, and then Pato himself, the Brazilian, my namesake, is coming to play with Orlando City. Yeah.
Pato?
Yeah, you know my nickname's Pato.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay,
and then there's Pato. Then there's Pato, the Brazilian.
I was putting the glasses on and looking at the results and stuff, and then I lost you for 1 second. But yes, okay. I mean, I think you can play. I think you've got as much chance of scoring as Pato does. By the way,
I would disagree, and I thought that too. I watched him play, and listen, they lost to
scored 1 goal.
I know. He's not a goal scoring guy, I admit, but he had a couple really good shots in this FC Cincinnati game that if they're on target, they're definitely goals. He has missed those. Now, FC Cincinnati's goalkeeper stood on his head. I think he had 8 or 9 saves. FC Cincinnati won their first game in 14 consecutive games. They were on a 14-game losing streak, and they beat and FC Cincinnati beat Orlando in Orlando 2-1. It was a little crazy, wacky game, and Orlando had a ridiculous amount of possession. They had a ridiculous amount of scoring chances. All sorts of stuff happened in that game, and they still lost to Cincinnati. And I guess even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. But Pat Noonan in the FC Cincinnati, Dom Kinnear is up there as well. They got a 2-1 win over Orlando. So Orlando was coming in wounded. With this loss that they suffered to the 3-time wooden spoon team, FC Cincinnati. I mean, does that make you feel good, Sophie? Do you feel like you have them on the ropes, or are they on a revenge game?
Firstly, Pato hasn't been prolific since he was at AC Milan. Okay, let's be fair.
Is that the same as Costa?
Diego Costa.
Douglas Costa.
Douglas Costa.
Yeah.
Douglas Costa. I have Diego. I was thinking of Diego Costa.
No worries.
Douglas Costa has been prolific in his career in that he's won things. There's end product to what he's done. I'm not saying Pato hasn't. Pato for me has been an injury prone player who's moved around for many years through different teams, and you hope that he's going to be this great player he once was. And for me, I actually had to, when he signed for Orlando City, I was like, oh wow, he's still playing.
Yeah,
it's one of those. I don't think Douglas Costa evokes that type of reaction.
I mean, he wasn't playing second division Brazil, but he got relegated as a first team player in Brazil down. So I mean, I get it, and I'm not going to.
Pedigree's very different. Though.
It is.
I've backed Douglas Costa from day one, and I'm sorry if you haven't seen his quality yet on the pitch, people. I don't know what to say.
It's there. If he gets the fitness level to where it needs to be, it's gonna be fun. In fact, this could be one of the games where you really see it shift in. Because I think he has it in his legs to sort of go. Orlando has 2 shutouts in 2022, same as the LA Galaxy, as a matter of fact. And their expected goals through 5 games is just 2.7. So a decent enough defense, really, when you look at it. And then you have Douglas Costa, the Brazilian, versus Pato, the Brazilian, which is fun in there. And Douglas Costa had this little quote from his media availability. He says, "I've known Pato for a long time. He's a friend. We've played on the youth and senior national team a couple of times." And then, of course, he said, "I hope everything goes well for him here, except on Saturday."
Yeah, I'm going to hug it out and stuff like that. And someone in chat, I think, wrote he was good in China.
He may have been good in China. But I will tell you,
the Chinese league is pretty much dead.
Yeah, well, they realized that spending wild amounts of money for very little investment actually coming back to them is probably a bad idea. So Victor, by the way, gave us a $5 super chat. Says looking forward to a clean sheet. That is a possibility. I will say this: Pato is a dangerous player. At least he was in the Cincinnati game. He has the unexpected pass in him, and if you're looking for a guy who is going to be that guy who's sort of the unexpected pass, sort of like Douglas Costa. Costa can give you that unexpected pass that goes through in the different direction than you expected it to happen. He had an assist that should have been an assist, and if not for a ridiculous save. But he was moving away from the play, and FC Cincinnati sort of shied off of him and didn't keep pressuring him as he's moving back away from goal. And you're like, oh, okay, no problems. He's not dangerous, and he just spins and hits this left-footed floater over to one of his players, and it was a goal. It should have gone in, and it was saved last minute. So he has that in him. But having said that, I don't expect that Orlando City is going to be this possession-based team that is going to try to come in and smack the LA Galaxy. Greg Vanney even mentioned this. He said, they're a possession-based team. But whenever they have possession taken away from them, they turn into a counterattacking team. And he goes, and all the teams we played so far have all been possession-based teams, and all of those teams have taken to hitting direct balls over the top or counterattacks against us because we've controlled the middle of the field and we've controlled the lanes. He's right. And I think whenever you're looking at somebody like Oscar Pereira, who is one of my favorite coaches in Major League Soccer,
your man crush,
Oscar, he always gets the best out of his guys, and so he can play really. He can adapt, and I think his teams can adapt, and I think that's sort of one of the hallmarks of this Orlando team. So they're going to be organized. We know that. We know that they're going to try to break the Galaxy down, I imagine, through the middle to start, and that'll be through Pato and some of their other players that they have, and I think that eventually that goes to counterattack. So the question is, can the Galaxy handle the counterattack, which so far this season the answer is absolutely 100% yes. They have not been beaten on counterattacks. And can they counter the counter? Because I think the Galaxy are best whenever they have space and they're able to find. So this is the Cabral. This is Cabral's game, right? There's going to be space, Sophie. So this is where Kevin Cabral shows up.
Yeah, hopefully. And watch, I bet Pato scores this weekend. It'd just be typical, wouldn't it? It's the defense, once again, for LA Galaxy. We know they can score goals. Midfield, I still think, needs a little tweaking and some more work. But it's that defense. And this is why Williams, if he's one of the best defenders, he's got to get out there as soon as possible. Depew, for me, I just don't see it. It just seems like he's such an average defender. And positionally, I just think he is questionable. So for me, once again, and Greg says it in every presser, doesn't he? If we can defend our goal, this team can go places.
Yep.
It's going to be the defense that kills this team.
And in this particular, watching certainly the FC Cincinnati game, Orlando looked decent enough on set pieces. They didn't convert any of them, but they looked dangerous. And that's the Achilles heel right now. The LA Galaxy have stopped counterattacks. They have not allowed a lot of run of play goals to be scored.
Which is an improvement. That's good.
Right.
That's, yeah.
But ultimately, there's going to be set pieces. There's going to be corner kicks. There's going to be free kicks. There's going to be this. And there has been this softness about them in these situations. It's not like they don't have bodies to be able to get in there and mix things up. And so it seems like it's a timidness to understand what is going on and to be physical in those spaces. Because if you saw the game-winning goal that Seattle scored, it's simply somebody fighting through a minor block and jumping up into the very middle of the field and hitting the ball. You can't allow that to happen. And Depew doesn't suck back towards the ball. Koulibaly stays up the field trying to guard somebody after the ball's already been kicked. It's like, get to your spot if your guy isn't going to get to the ball, now you have to leave him and go for the ball. You have to be there. Somebody has to get there. And then you had Araujo who's not paying attention to where the line is. All those things need to work together and need to be understanding. So hopefully the Galaxy practiced that. I imagine they did. And that they can fix this problem, because I think if you're going to find a way for Orlando to win this game, it's going to be through these set pieces.
Yeah.
And
positionally, like I said, like you reiterated it too, they've got to be better all the way across the board.
As we said, first meeting for the LA Galaxy in Orlando since May of 2019. And let's see, Orlando City has won only one of its last 14 away matches against Western Conference foes. They've drawn 3 and lost 10, dating back to June of 2018. That's an interesting one. I also found that Orlando City held 69.5% possession in its loss to Cincinnati on Saturday. We said we don't think they're going to be a possession-based team, but they like to play with possession. They're just not going to be able to do it if the LA Galaxy play. And I'm hoping that Victor Vasquez gets back into the starting lineup. I like Efrain Alvarez coming off the bench in the last 20 or 30 minutes much better than I like Victor Vasquez coming off the bench and trying to play in that role as well. And I think that there's going to be a lot of chances early in this game to control that space and create chances. And then it's going to be up to the LA Galaxy's offense again. If this goes down as, a 1-1 draw or a 0-0 draw or something where the LA Galaxy don't kick off on offense, the questions are going to continue to be asked because they're creating chances. I imagine they're going to create chances against Orlando in a defense that, while it can be organized, can be broken down, then they need to score goals. This should be one of those times where you get people who are coming across 3 time zones to play you, that you're able to go ahead and smack them in the mouth early and then run up the score. And then you don't have Chicharito playing 90 minutes of every game for every single time, right? And Douglas Costa can come out in the 70th minute because you're winning 3-0. Those types of things are important. So for me, I think the LA Galaxy win this game. I think they win it 2-0. And I really want to see the defense rebound, especially in those set pieces.
You've summarized this brilliantly, Josh. Well done. Especially on the counter-attacking side. And I'm going to go 3-1 because I'm pretty sure I've booked the squad and Pato will score. So I'm going to give him one goal there. And by the way, our name, Pato, Josh, Panda,
Right.
The cannon and
the
hammer.
cannon. Yeah,
I mean,
and
that
hammer.
sounds like a good bench, doesn't it?
It does.
That's a pretty good bench.
It's not bad at all. Well, somebody said that they in our Discord that they were going to make a banner that says our Pato is better than yours, and I said I will stand next to that banner. I go, well, you all know it won't be true, but I will stand next to it, and we can do that. So that's what we got. LA Galaxy facing off against Orlando City coming up at 12:30 p.m. on Saturday, an early one. I think everything opens, like the gates open at like 8:30 or 9. It's really early. It's an early game. I'm going to be scrambling to get up and get out of the PJs and actually show up to this game. So look forward to everybody to be in there. TUDN, Univision, and on Twitter for you if you want to watch it. But you should be at this game.
Maybe we just show up in our pajamas.
I think, it says you're not allowed to wear team gear but as long as your pajamas aren't LA Galaxy, then that sounds fair. That sounds fair. Okay.
Might just do that. Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Soph, that you want to get to, or can we call this one?
We can call this one. Absolutely. Yeah. Great to be back from the wilderness. And, I did get my text message from Larry is not on Twitter in the first 5 minutes. So
good.
As predicted.
Yes.
So hopefully our predictions for the game this weekend will be correct. Let's go Galaxy. Let's get a win, get back on track. Let's do this.
All right. I love it. All right. Sophie, tell people where they can find you. Let's go.
At Highbury Squad across all social media if you love a little bit of European football talk and, smidgen of MLS as well. And, of course, at Soccer Diva, or not, of course, at Soccer Diva on Twitter. Come find me. Come love, loathe, rant, rave, whatever you want to do. Have a good one and stay safe, everybody.
All right. That's awesome. By the way, gates opening at 6 a.m. The other lots open about 8:30 a.m. So lot A opens then, or gate A opens then, and then the rest of them will be open a little later. All right, if you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at Guesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast. Cornerofthegalaxy.com is where you can find us. Head on over there. We have the full presser from Wednesday's media availability up and ready, so you can hear from Douglas Costa, Chicharito, and Greg Vanney ahead of this game versus Orlando. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Be safe, be kind. We will see you on Saturday. For Sophie, the Cannon Nicolaou, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening, you've been watching to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Narajo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.